Welcome back to the conflict cycle. We're beginning part 2. In part 1, we did a brief overview of the bottom half of the conflict cycle diagram, those 4 interconnected circles. They represent the events that are apparent to all who witness a situation. It's akin to when we do an ABC analysis. We identify the behavior of concern. We look at the A, what happened just before it, the antecedent, and then we look at the C, what followed it, the consequence, the outcome that maintains the behavior that perplexes us or concerns us. However, we want to go beyond that simple observation and look at what's happening behind the scenes. What do people involved in the conflict cycle bring to the table? If you look at the 2 rectangles found at the top of the diagram, you see self-concept and irrational belief. What we're doing here is backing up the bus, so to speak. We're looking at the factors that influence our responses when we're under stress. Now, I can't believe that this kid here, when she was in the womb, said, "When I get out there on that granite planet, I'm causing havoc." No. Whether you believe that we're born tabula rasa, blank slate, just waiting for society to write upon us, whether we're born inherently evil, as were the views of Hobbes and Freud and the original sin in the biblical view, or whether you believe that we're born inherently good, as per John Locke and Rousseau, all of those views have a point in common: the recognition of the massive influence of society, parents, teachers, media, the massive influence of society on who one becomes. A loyal, friendly, trustworthy, cooperative person, or a disloyal, manipulative, untrustworthy, uncooperative individual. Kids become what society has trained them to be, either systematically or haphazardly, through informed positive guidance, or unfortunately badly winging it due to incompetence, misinformation, or lack of information. We need to blow away the smoke and toss aside the mirrors that get in the way of us fully understanding what's transpiring. Oftentimes when we just look at the events superficially, as per the 4 interconnected circles, we miss a lot of what's going on. Despite what was initially evident to Dorothy and her escorts in The Wizard of Oz during that powerful attention-drawing event when they come into the wizard's chamber, do pay attention to the man behind the curtain. We need to gain an understanding of the factors that have influenced this student's response to events in order to better understand that kid's behavior pattern. Let's go now to the top rectangular box, which refers to the self-image, how one sees oneself, and the personal traits that we see in ourselves. I think we should also include self-esteem, how highly or lowly one perceives oneself, the extent to which someone likes himself or herself. The second rectangular box refers to inaccurate beliefs that one holds about the world and the people in it. These perceptions develop from our experiences and what we've heard from important others and the media, etc., etc. Some examples. All people of that religious group are, those kids from that housing project, they're all teachers. Oh, they're all, no one will ever love me. Inaccurate beliefs that do not apply in every or even most situations. Our sense of self and our experiences influence how we perceive events and the actions of others. Odd reactions, strange behavior, Weird actions reflect a difference between the experiences of the person being described and the person doing the describing. Let's focus now on that first rectangle. Many kids have low self-esteem and negative self-concepts due to... Feel free to pause the podcast now and consider that question. We talked about the effect of the environment on who we become. For a great number of our kids with hardened and persistent inappropriate behavior patterns, they've had rotten childhoods filled with negative experiences. They have been victims perhaps of abuse, neglect, or consistent messages of rejection. Others have had inconsistency in their child rearing due to multiple caretakers using very different practices or giving very different messages. Others have inconsistent caretaking from primary adults who are alcoholic or substance addicted, who have unmanaged mental illness, who have negatively oriented authoritarian personalities, or caretakers who are incompetent due to a lack of child-rearing knowledge. Many youngsters have heard these reiterated negative labels and messages. You rude little son of a... When I catch you, I'll... You little criminal. You're going to end up dead or in jail someday. Man, you're strange. Why don't you use your head once in a while, stupid? What's wrong with you anyhow? Get out of my face before I... You little loser. Why can't you be like Fran? You evil little beast. I'll beat the devil out of you. Or, as one client said to a psychologist friend of mine, when the parent was asked what he does when his 10-year-old son acts up. I tell him he's a... We certainly should rephrase that one. Kids hear the messages that come from important people in their lives. And if we give them labels, they accept that label. Someone who knows more about life than me, someone whose charge I'm in, has told me that I am a criminal, that I am a bad kid. What do criminals do? Criminal acts. What do bad kids do? They make poor choices. Imagine a young child being called rude. Doesn't even know what that word is, but files it away. And then sees another kid get called rude on TV or out in the store and says, "Oh, I saw what that kid did. He's the same as me." Yeah, what do rude people do? Rude things. We do not want to give those labels. We'll talk in another podcast about how we replace labels. Due to those painful or unpredictable childhood experiences, irrational beliefs form about oneself and others. Now we're at the second rectangle above the cycle. Based on their inconsistent and or negative history of happenings, they interpret happenings different than most people. They view those events through a distorted lens, and their actions and reactions reflect those misperceptions. Among kids with emotional and behavioral disorders, there is an unusually high occurrence of child rearing that is disorganized, no clear life lessons regarding civility and proper deportment being taught. Inconsistent, there's a lack of boundaries and contrary lessons about how one should behave. Harsh, adults model aggression as a reaction to stress and frustration. Or child rearing that is just wrongly practiced, supportive talk phrased incorrectly. We'll talk about how we phrase directions and praise and criticism and life lessons in an upcoming podcast in this Defiant Kid series. Here's an example of how a misperception might develop from maltreatment, neglect, rejection. My parents treated me badly. We can't argue with you, kid. That's a fact. I can't count on my parents to care for me or treat me well. And indeed, that perception's a fact. But then comes the distorted, irrational belief. I was treated badly because I'm a bad person. And because I'm bad, no one will ever like me or care for me or treat me well. Then this child comes to a setting where there are competent, caring, positive adults. He's perplexed by the situation, but what he's thinking is, you say you want to help me, but I know adults. At least he knows adults that he's been exposed to. When I show you why I'm not likable, you'll quickly reject me and you'll hurt me just like my parents. And unfortunately, some past teachers, they get rejection in the school too. But then they meet you. Lucky them. You say you're different. And while the child hopes that this is true, you're going to have to prove it over and over again as that child seeks reassurance that you truly are different. We'll talk about some of those tests in part 3.